onesie to wear for Easter, but I'm not too keen on religious holidays. However, it's super cute, and I've come to join you to read you a bedtime story. I picked one out called Hide and Seek, and it's set in Martha's Vineyard. So, cuddle up, get a tea, and enjoy this little story from this book, Spooky Massachusetts. All right. Hide and Seek. Our friends invited us on a dinner cruise in their yacht to celebrate our 20th anniversary. After dinner, they would drop us off at the Vineyard, where my husband had booked us into a nice inn for the weekend. The weather was overcast and windy when we set out just before dinner, but Steve, our host and captain, assured us that it would be clear very soon. Right? Within the hour, the heavens opened and the rain poured down upon us. The Bermuda-rigged slope was tossing this way and that, and our dinner was sliding off the plates, which was okay with me because I was so seasick I couldn't eat. Given the choice of facing the terrible lurching below deck or the rain outside, I opted for the outside. I grimly hung to the rails for the rest of the journey, shivering in the wind and the rain and the occasional slap of the too enthusiastic wave. "Happy anniversary, honey," I growled sarcastically to my husband after depositing what was left from our dinner overboard. "We're almost there," Thomas said soothingly, patting my back sympathetically. We docked at the marina around 9 o'clock. By the time Thomas got us a taxi and we arrived at the inn, all I wanted was a hot shower and a bed. What I didn't want was a ghost. But that was exactly what I got as soon as I stepped foot in the renovated old tavern turned inn that was our home away from home for the weekend. I've always had psychic tendencies and have been able to see ghosts since childhood. This is not a skill I discuss with most people, including Thomas. My husband, while tolerant of my foible, still thinks I'm imagining the whole thing. When we started dating, I told him that I could sense ghosts, and he laughed at me and refused to believe. After that, I didn't dare tell him that I could see them too. He would have never understood. So, as I stood wet and miserable in the entrance of the inn, watching him register, I decided not to mention the fact that his shoes were being carefully sniffed by a semi-transparent ghost dog with a lashing tail and an engaging sparkle in its eyes. Anyway, I was too sick at the moment to care about the ghost dog, though normally I would have given such a happy creature a pat on the head when no one was looking. My husband had booked something special for our anniversary, or so he claimed. He was beaming as he escorted me through the bookcase in the wall that masked as a secret staircase leading to a charming guest room. The ghost dog accompanied us, and as soon as my feet touched the first step, I knew that the poor old fellow had died here a long time ago. What I didn't expect, as we set down our suitcases, was for two small heads to pop out through the wall, followed by two charming little ghost boys who promptly slid under our bed, giggling at each other. The dog wiggled underneath too, and I saw the three of them peeping out at us while my husband started unpacking his things. I frowned at them ferociously. I was still feeling seriously seasick and was not in the mood for hide and seek. I grabbed a robe and slippers and headed to the bathroom, calling, "I don't want any interruptions while I'm in the bath." At the door, I paused to glare, first at my spouse and then at the boys who were laying hidden. They giggled and one of them made a terrible face at me. Since Thomas had his back turned, I made a horrible face back, and they both laughed delightedly. "Take your time," Thomas said, ignoring my grumpiness as he unfolded his pajamas. "And feel better." "Harumph," I snorted as I left the four of them behind me for the blessed hot water and an unmoving surface. When I returned to the bedroom, my husband was the only one in residence. Good. I crawled into bed and fell asleep right away. In the morning, my crankiness and seasickness had both abated, to Thomas's and my relief, and we sat down to a fabulous breakfast. I was feeling downright perky by the time we were done, and even stopped to pet the ghost dog, who accompanied us into the bright, rain-washed summer morning on the pretext of tying my shoe. Thomas and I strolled around town like a couple of courting teenagers, laughing and holding hands. We peeked into the quaint shops, and I talked Thomas out of buying a scrimshaw for our house. We rented bikes and rode all over the island. By the end of the day, we were sunburnt and happily exhausted. Back at the inn, we climbed the secret staircase of the old tavern wall, and I waved to the little ghost boy who was hiding behind the door. After dinner, I wandered downstairs without my disbelieving spouse and casually asked a member of the waitstaff at the restaurant if the house was haunted. I prompted him a bit by mentioning that we were spending the weekend in the secret room behind the bookcase. "Oh, are you staying there?" he said brightly. "There is a ghost story associated with that room." I settled myself down to listen as he related the following tale. Back in the 1800s, the old tavern had been converted into a residence, and a couple who lived there and their two little boys and a small dog, who was the pride and joy of the younger son. The older boy was a bit of a prankster, and one evening before leaving for an extended stay with his grandmother, he shut the dog into the secret room to tease his little brother. Well, the young chap went searching for the dog, not hearing the whining and scratching behind the wall, and ended up racing out into a rainstorm. The younger brother came down with pneumonia the next day and died soon after without knowing where the dog had been hidden. It was only after the funeral that the poor little dog had been found in the secret room, where he had died from thirst and starvation. When the older boy returned home from his lengthy visit and learned the consequences of his prank, he threw himself into the harbor and drowned. Tears sprang from my eyes as the close of the tragic story, and I didn't need the young man to tell me that the brothers and the little dog were rumored to haunt the inn. Some people have heard the little brothers giggling, and the others have seen paw prints on the floor, he concluded, especially in the secret room. Sometimes we leave biscuits out for the dog. And I'm sure he appreciates them, I said, watching the bright-eyed ghost dog just behind him, tail lashing in delightment. After thanking the boy, I headed back to the room, accompanied by the ghost dog, who bumped in and threw my legs. "The wind's a bit strong tonight," Thomas commented, looking up from his book as I entered. "I keep hearing it muttering around the corners of the house. Sounds a bit like someone chuckling." "Or two someones," I agreed, watching one of the boys hide Thomas's slippers under the dresser. The ghost boy caught my eye and giggled, and suddenly my eyes were covered from behind the small pair of cold hands. I heard a soft giggle right in my ear. Then both boys vanished, and the dog disappeared a moment later. All but his tail, which wagged several times and then slowly faded away. I blinked a few times, then my eyes focused on Thomas. He was staring at me with an arrested look on his face. "You know, I could almost swear I saw a little boy standing behind you," he said in a faraway voice, the newspaper in his hands rattling as I realized he was shaking. "But he's not there anymore." Just a ghost, dear. Don't let it worry you, I said in a soothing voice. Thomas swallowed hard and then said, I think it's best if I pretend that nothing just happened. He ducked back behind his newspaper and I heard him give a shuddering sigh. You do that, dear, I said, and I winked as the little head popped out from under the chair. The younger brother tried to wink back, but he obviously never learned how, so it turned more into an eyelash flutter. We had a lovely weekend in the end, and I was sad to say goodbye to the happy ghost who inhabited the secret room behind the bookcase. We'll come back again, said Thomas as we carried our luggage outside to our taxi. But looking back, I sensed that this was the last time we would visit this particular spot. And I was right. Our travels had taken us many places in the decades since, but we never returned back to the Vineyard. Aw, little ghost boys and a ghost dog. That's a happy ghost story. I like happy ghosts. All right. Everyone have a good night.